In this video, we're going to just quickly talk about the basics of personalization. At the end of each sale, I will provide a link to a Dropbox folder that will be a copy of the original Adobe Illustrator files that you will be working with for this particular sale. The way it works is we will basically provide to you an Excel spreadsheet that we download from inside our vendor portal at Zulily. And it, as I said earlier, basically looks something like this one right here. We'll put it in the same folder as the Adobe Illustrator files that you'll be working with. And when you open it up, you'll see that it has an order date and an order number and a product name and a description, customer information, etc. Of the particular files. And as I said in the last video, if you scroll over, there's the name that the customer provided that will be placed onto the growth chart. So we will clearly mark the folder that you'll use as your master Adobe Illustrator files. And in this particular case, I'll just click on a sample file for you so you can see what they look like. So we're opening Adobe Illustrator, and when it's completely open, I will go ahead and pull it into view here. All right, so there it is, and there it is, and we'll go ahead and pull the layers palette into view as well. So it essentially looks like that. There's always a placeholder name, and if you look at the way most of these Adobe Illustrator files are organized, we have an inset border that's just this outer border here. And then we've got this field with a name, marked name. You generally don't have to worry about this because we take care of organizing the files the way we want them to be set up. But what we do want you to look at is on each order you'll be working with, you can see that this name, personalization, and the value, in this case the child's name is Logan. You will basically be clicking on the name and typing Logan just like this. Now in some cases we've made so many growth chart files that we can't absolutely guarantee that we did everything right the first time. For example, in some cases this name has been left justified or right justified, and we did that accidentally. All the names should be center justified. When you have a long name, an example would be, let's scroll down over here, say, I'm just sort of looking through these names. Here's a good example. Let's one with two names, Leah and Allie. So someone brought a growth chart for two children. So in this case, if I were to type in Leah and Allie like that, let's make sure I check the spelling. Leah and Allie, A-L-L-Y, the E. You can see that basically it just goes off the board. Now I want to point out that one of the biggest problems that we have with other vendors who do personalization for us is that they're just not detail-oriented as it relates to spelling, etc. So for example, we do a lot of business with people who do personalization that mess it up, and they'll spell the names wrong and everything else. And then we end up shipping the growth chart to the customer, and we have to do reprints, and that's really bad. So accuracy is the most important thing. So I want you to double, triple check the actual spelling of the person, and make sure that this is center justified and not left justified or right justified on accident. Now I chose a long name, or in this case one with two names, to show you that what happens if things kind of go off the document. So in this case you have two choices. One is you can resize it down to something smaller like that, and you basically want it to be about like that, with sort of amount of spacing here and a certain amount of spacing here, and sometimes I just sort of position it by hand so it looks about right. Or, in other cases, if this said, for example, the Anderson family, which we sometimes get things like that, then you can also break things onto two lines, and that's the right treatment in some cases. So for the Anderson family, if it were me, I would probably do it basically just about like this. And then, since everything's on its own line, we could probably make it a little bit bigger. The exact placement top to bottom, you don't have to worry about it on a pixel level, but you really want to make sure that you're not too far left like that, and you're not too far right so it's too close to the numbers here. You really kind of want it to be just about centered on the chart, perhaps a little bit closer to the numbers because obviously the numbers push you over to the left a little bit so that it visually looks centered left and right. So I would say that one's right about there. So at this point, you're now ready to save the document and move on to the next file. But in the next video, I'll show you exactly how we want you to save the documents.